My name is Roger Johnson. I like taking pictures and I love to travel. Whether it's working as a professional tour guide, a flight attendant, or on my own for fun. Across America or around the world. This is my show. Hello and welcome once again. I don't want to say hello. It's a new year, gosh darn it. Happy New Year and welcome once again to another Welcome to America Adventure Update. It is January 2013 and this is our 13th Adventure Update. Even though it's the number 13 is very prominent here, I feel lucky about this one. Feels good. I got to go on a work overnight last August. Every once in a while you get some time, and I had time in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and got to go to a Philadelphia Phillies game. I'm trying to visit every major league ballpark. This last year I got to visit 4 new ones. What do I got? 21 total. And I would love to tell you who won the game, but then that might constitute a description of the game without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. So I'll just tell you it was a good game, and that might be too much. The other thing that you need permission for, and we kind of hinted at this last month, you need permission to play certain music because they want their money and pay. So when I ran up the steps of the Philadelphia Art Museum, we couldn't use the Rocky music. I did listen to it in my phone. If you go to Philadelphia, you gotta run up the steps. And my brother Mike had posts on Facebook after I posted about it. He said, were people looking at you weird or were they joining in with you? I said, yeah, some were watching me, looking at me weird, and then other people were running up too. There's a whole group of kids that ran up. It was kind of neat. So, in addition to doing that, I did do some of the more traditional things, other things that you get to see in Philadelphia that I'd seen before. A bunch of my crew members that I was with had not been to downtown Philadelphia before, or at least not since they were kids. So we went and we saw the Liberty Bell, did the tour of Independence Hall. I didn't go in and do the tour. I've done it 3 times before. If you haven't done it before, definitely take the time to do it. They do a really good job with it. Kitty Corner, the next block over from Independence Hall, is the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier of the American Revolution. It's Washington Square, and actually it's not just one soldier. There's hundreds of bodies buried in the square from the American Revolution, from Valley Forge, which is just outside of Philadelphia there. And so they've got a nice little monument and flags and statue of George Washington, and good to go over there and pay your respects to them. Betsy Ross House, not run by the National Park Service or anything like that. It's a privately run museum. They do a good job if you'd want to do the tour. I was a little disappointed with the gift shop, though, for being a home of the person that designed the American flag. There wasn't a very good flag selection. But I'm a flag guy, flag person, vexillologist. So a little disappointed for me. The other cool thing, if you want to go, it's not the original home. The house where Thomas Jefferson actually wrote the Declaration of Independence, they reconstructed it. You get to go and see what his apartments looked like when he was there. And the one thing that I wanted to do and wanted to see that I didn't have time for, Benjamin Franklin's house. Something else that's not there anymore, but they've got this really cool, it's kind of like a skeleton of where the house would have stood over a museum. Well, it was closed when I was there. They were redoing construction and all that stuff. So, unfortunately, I wasn't able to go in and do that. So maybe next time. What was open, and I've done this before, is the Christ Church Cemetery, just almost right across the street from the Visitor Center, National Park Visitor Center, is the graveyard where Benjamin Franklin is buried. And so you can look in there and see where his grave is. People put coins and things on there. And if you want to go inside the cemetery, it is owned by the Christ Church there in Philadelphia. And they charge a small fee to help pay for upkeep and those kinds of things. You can go in and there's 3 other signers of the Declaration of Independence buried in there. There's George Hughes, George Ross. No, it's Joseph Hughes, George Ross, who is the uncle of Betsy Ross, and Benjamin Rush. Now, Benjamin Rush's claim to fame, or one of them, other than signing the Declaration of Independence, while he was at the Continental Congress, it was his sole purpose in life to have George Washington removed as commander of the Continental Army. He didn't succeed, and of course George Washington did, despite leading a ragtag, poorly funded, poorly trained army. Maybe not poorly trained, they ended up working there. They won, of course. Yay! In a previous life, of course, George Washington was not facing that world superpower of the British Empire. He was part of it as a colonel in the Virginia militia back in the 1750s. He had gone out into western Pennsylvania. I had a chance to go on a subsequent work trip to Pittsburgh. I went to the Fort Necessity National Battlefield. There's a reconstruction of the fort where George Washington, commanding colonial militia and British regular troops, faced a French army, and the battle on July 3rd, 1754 resulted in George Washington's only surrender. He maybe lost a few battles, but this was the only one where he actually surrendered. It's really cool. It's a very small fort, but it's a very important piece of American history. Not only was it the start of George Washington's military career, it was the start of the French and Indian War. That kind of ended up leading up into the American Revolution. Important part of our history. The other cool thing that's there is after the war, later on, George Washington bought land around the battlefield. Part of that land, they ended up building a tavern called the Washington Tavern along what was then known as the National Road. It was the first federally funded highway going across western Pennsylvania out into the Ohio Territory, Northwest Territory, what they would have called it at the time. Cool, you get to go into the inn and see what travel back then would have been like, where you would have stayed, where you would have eaten. No McDonald's, no Super 8, no Motel 6, none of that. So after I visited the Fort Necessity National Battlefield, I decided I have enough time. I'm going to go visit the Flight 93 Memorial near Shanksville, Pennsylvania. And I'm not going to talk about that this month. I'm going to save that for next month, because in addition to getting to go cool places with work, I also get to visit and work with very cool people. I have one of those very cool people with me today, Lindsay Glasgow. Mm-hmm. I always want to put a G in there in my head, thinking Glasgow. But you're not Scottish, are you?
No, I'm not.
So, but you do a blog.
I do. I do.
Traveling Young, Fabulous, all in caps, and Broke.
Yes. Traveling Young, Fabulous, and Broke.blogspot.com. I kind of stole that from Susie Orman, if you will. Her Young, Fabulous, and Broke.
Because I tried to look it up online and I came up with other stuff. I thought, oh.
Yes.
But you added the traveling part in there,
yes,
which is the key part.
Yes.
Not the broke part. Although that is part of it.
It definitely is part of it. People think that we make a lot of money in the airlines. That's not true. So no. I'm always saving my pennies, and some people call me frugal. I just like to call myself cheap. But
that works.
Yes.
How long have you been doing that, the blogging?
Well, I've been blogging for just over a year. I got into it because I wanted a way to journal or document my travels, and I get a lot of questions about how I planned something, how I was able to do it so cheap. And so it's a way for me to answer people's questions when they come up and say, hey, how'd you travel and go to this location here so cheap? I can say, hey, go check out my blog, and saves me the time of writing nice long emails.
I get those questions and I say, I don't know.
That's my husband's response. He goes, I don't know. She just figures it out.
But that's why we have you.
Yes.
No, I didn't even realize you were doing the blog. We had worked together a couple of times back when you were an FO on the Saab. Mm-hmm. I love the Saab.
Good old Saab.
I miss the Saab.
Flying tank.
This is this prop airplane. You fly into these little airports. Yep. And so we obviously got to talking about travel and all that. I didn't know you did the blog until last December, not December 12th to December 2011. I was in Athens, Greece, visiting the Acropolis, and I got done for the day, and I go down to the hostel, checking Facebook, and hey, there's a post from Lindsay. She's linking to this blog about the Acropolis. So I had to look at it. It was your blog. I had no idea. And now, when did you go to Athens?
A year ago.
Just before before I went. Advice and tips that I should have known before I went up there.
We were very fortunate. Somehow I got 20 days off, and we spent 18 days in Greece. We did a lot of traveling around Greece, and in Athens, we utilized Rick Steves' audio blog, audio tours.
Okay. Yeah.
And they're free, so you can download them onto your iPod and listen to them as you're walking around. One thing I was disappointed with Acropolis is that there wasn't a tour right there that they offered. It wasn't a location that I knew much about. I didn't really know the history. And so I was hoping to have had a tour there with a personal tour guide. Of course, the cruise lines that come in, they all have their own tour guides, but they don't offer anything right there at the entrance. So it was nice to have.
No, because there were people, if I remember, there were people that offered tours, but they're not part of the official when you buy your ticket.
Correct.
And
when you go to the ticket office, there isn't a tour that you can pay
And I'm not sure how busy it was when you were there. When I was there, it was like nobody. And so they were like desperate to, you know, like right in your face. Here, come to you. And it's like, no, I don't have any money.
Yeah.
So, I was only there a day and a half. So
yeah, it was. September is right at the end of the busy travel season for them, and so there was some crowds coming in. It was the end of the cruises coming in, and so there was some crowds, but. Yeah, you know, and being that I'm cheap, it's nice to have the free audio you can just download onto your iPod and listen and walk through. And
who needs an official tour guide when you've got Rick Steves?
Steves.
Except he just covers Europe, so when you go somewhere else, you're kind of stuck.
True.
And speaking of getting stuck, on my way home from Athens, I couldn't get on the direct flight back to New York, so I ended up going to Amsterdam and spending the night in the airport. Another one of your blogs that I thought, oh, hey, I've done this.
Yes.
Spending nights in airports. Now, you actually planned your trip, so you ended up spending the night in Athens.
Yes and no. We did spend the night in Athens. I had, I don't really remember if it was a hotel or hostel.
Okay.
Probably same quality.
Yeah.
I had one booked, but I always make sure that they have cancellation policies where I can cancel at any time because my plans change all the time.
Yep.
And we were coming in on our ferry from an island in Greece. I think it was Milos. And when we were coming in, we thought, you know what? It's kind of silly to go to a hotel for just a couple hours. We're going to have to be back at the airport. Let's just go to the airport anyways. So I shot off a message real quick on my iPad, canceled our hotel, free cancellation policy, and went straight to Athens airport and spent the night there. I think we got in about 11 p.m. and we were there all night.
And advice for people if you end up stuck accidentally or if you're going to plan on it?
Well, advice for sleeping in airports. There's a couple things I always travel with, no matter if I'm planning on staying in an airport anyways. Earplugs, eye mask to close out the light because you're not going to find a dark place in airports quite often. And I always have a beach towel with me. Okay. Because I stay in hostels. So the beach towel makes a good blanket in airports.
Because I find they're very often cold. LAX, I think, was the coldest airport I've ever spent the night in. Yeah, I went through my list. What did I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that I can remember. Yeah. Probably a few that I don't want to remember.
They're all cold.
And they're all cold. And
Yep.
Although, Reno. Last year, when we came back from Mount Whitney, I went to the Reno airport. And talk about nice. Down by the baggage claim area, they've got the big pillars, and then around it was like a bench, and it was all padded, and it was nice and big wide.
Armrests?
No armrests, no.
See, that's it. That's key.
Because I think they make it so that you aren't comfortable intentionally. There you've got like a whole bunch of blogs, a lot more to talk about, but we're going to keep it short. And we're going to end it there. Okay. Maybe we'll have you back. You've got a soft spot for Hawaii.
Oh, I do.
So I just went to Hawaii last month when we do the adventure update. Maybe I'll have you come back and you can tell me about Hawaii. So yeah, check out Lindsay's blog.
Traveling Young, Fabulous, and Broke.
There we go. We'll put it on the screen too, so I don't have to remember it. I find out more information, and Lindsay does something that I don't really do. She gives advice and tells you where to go and when to go and how to plan and things like that. I just like telling you about all the cool places that I've been to make you jealous. So anyway, check out my website, welcometoamerica.us. See the movie, 50 States, 50 Days.us. We got Facebook pages, all that good stuff. So until next month, we'll visit the 9/11 Memorial, not only in Shanksville, New York City, and the Pentagon as well, and some Civil War battlefields. Cool. So, all right. Very cool having you here. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
I thought the fabulous thing was just the night and name of your thing, but you actually are fabulous.
I wouldn't go that far.
Maybe lowercase letters.
Just a little self-esteem boost.
There we go. I mean, I tell people I'm awesome all the time, but it's just blowing steam.